Think of having everything you've worked for, every drop of sweat, every tear shed while building your business, one day vanish into flames. On September 8th in Scott Community, our beloved Main Street did just that. Families lost their business and their hard work by chance one afternoon with no warning.
You put your heart, your soul into building your business and watching it go up in flames. There really are no words to describe. You just stand there and watch helplessly as all your hard work just goes up in smoke.
When you start looking at Main Street in Scott City, it's not huge, and so every business is very important.
I think the emotions of that day were so strong. There are parts of it that I even said I can't really remember.
Monday, September 8th was a devastating day for Scott Community. Early afternoon, a historic building currently occupied by Craig and Marcia Brown went up in flames.
Surrounding stores including Bling, owned by Mark and Nicole Campos, and Bruce's Carpet and Tile, owned by Gail Lewis, suffered from smoke and water damage.
He went back to the store after lunch, and someone said that they saw smoke coming out of the top of the building, so he went over there and swung the door open, and that's when he saw the smoke. I showed up maybe 15 or 20 minutes later after I got the message that the building was on fire. They were having trouble getting the fire put out, and were worried that it was going to spread to the buildings next door and possibly down the block. So the firefighters worked really hard. We stayed down there all day. It was just hard to walk away from it. I mean, it was gut-wrenching to watch it happen, but we felt like we couldn't leave. Felt like it was something that we needed to stay in and be a part of, as negative as it was.
Trying to find a building right now, maybe reopened, but everything's kind of still up in the air. It's going to take a little bit to get everything all lined out.
We had insurance on our contents and stuff. The building wasn't ours, but we are kind of talking. We still have, things are up in the air with the insurance. We have to make sure that everything is covered there. We have to find a building if we're going to reopen, and those are hard to come by in Scott City. When we first decided we were going to open a business, we moved into a small building knowing that we were going to outgrow it soon. So then when the building on Main Street came available, we were so happy because we had looked so hard for a building that was big enough for our needs, and now that's kind of the obstacle that we're facing here. So hopefully something will come available. Our faith is what's keeping us together, and we know that God has a plan for us. We don't know what it is right now, but we just have to be patient and watch for His signs, and we'll know what the next step is for us to take. We've lived here for 16 years. We're a part of the community, and we feel like everybody has just been so supportive. We've had phone calls, emails, text messages, cards, just people stopping us in the stores to tell us how sorry they are that this happened to us and that they want us to rebuild and come back, and we're hoping that if we find a building that we can do just that. We just want to say thank you to everybody, from the firefighters that worked so hard. We know that was a really hard thing. We want to say thank you to the fire departments in the surrounding towns. Dighton, I guess, was here, and Wichita County came to help. Just everybody. We had Casey's gave the firefighters food and water throughout the day, and I know that there was other stores that donated as well. And we just want to say thank you to everybody for all their support and all their prayers, because they really have helped.
It's really hard to put a value on it. It's something that you just take for granted driving through Main Street and just looking at it there. We both really took pride in the building. We liked the history of it, and that's just a tragedy. Feel sorry for everybody on Main, all the smoke damage. That was the biggest concern, and keeping the fire from spreading. But outside of that, we just sat there and watched it burn.
It was very surreal. You just don't think anything like that's going to happen. Maybe tornadoes, storms like that, but you don't really get fire on your radar. I bought the south half in 1994, so almost 20 years. And when I bought that building, I did it with the anticipation that I could buy the north half too. The gentleman who owned it in Springfield, Missouri, he changed his mind. And so it really wasn't until Terry had the opportunity to buy the north half that we could work together to change the outside of the building, to put the stucco on the front, to put new windows on it, and there were other plans for it too.
Braun's Butcher Block was on the north side. Sold meat products and lunches, and I think he was in there 3 years, I believe. Before that, it was, when I bought it, it was Joseph's Closet, kind of like a thrift store. And then it went to, what, You Been Framed? And they moved out, and Ron wanted to move in. And so I let Ron move in.
On the south side, when it was completely remodeled, Terry and John did a lot of work in that building also because it was completely rewired, had all new walls, all new flooring, everything. And initially it was a restaurant. Ron and Marcia Gordon were in there. And after they left town, Pam and Greg Henry had a clothing store there. After that, I used it for collection of books. I had just old family items in there, like my grandma's old pump organ, and a lot of art.
Just with this disaster, I don't know why anybody would want to put a building up and rent it out. It'll never pay, it's just, I'm not saying we won't, but I don't know why anybody would.
Well, there are a lot of expenses with owning commercial property on Main Street, and it was an eye-opening experience to go through this fire. I think, in my mind, I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with the buildings to the north and to the south, because without knowing that, it's kind of hard to make any plans.
The community is just really super. Taking care of their volunteer fire department, I just don't know how to thank them enough. They just did a fantastic job. The whole community kind of stood behind us. It's just really, in a big city, it's unreal how much difference it would have been probably. I don't know how it had been, but like our insurance, the cleanup part, our county was good enough. We didn't have to haul everything to Garden. They let us dispose of it at our local dump, which they had to go out of their way to get permits to let us do that. The dirt to fill in the hole, why they let us get that there too, the county. So the county was really, really good. Everybody's been good.
Terry was probably more involved in the post-fire experience, but that's another experience in itself because there's demolition, there's permits to get from KDHE on the disposal, permits for parking the dumpsters on Main Street, for disposal of products that were in his half of the building. And like you said, the fire department just did an excellent job. Rich Kramer at the landfill was good to work with.
We had like the asbestos people came from Wichita it was from the asbestos to the meat inspectors to I mean, you just don't have any idea how many inspectors had to come and look at everything. And we had to jump through all their hoops, and it just took a lot of time.
We jumped in the car, one of the only Mondays of the year we weren't there, and drove down there right away and watched.
Yeah, I was in Manhattan picking stuff up, all the spring and summer stuff from the stores from Manhattan Sline and Hay, so I was about 5 hours away, so I nothing I could do.
I was on my own. I had some good friends with me. We rented a building for now that we're trying to replace merchandise. We're not planning on selling any of the damaged merchandise, of course. It really depends on the state, how our building holds up, and if we're able to go back in there. So we really don't know. It's still a lot of question marks. I think that the first part of it was really overwhelming, but this part is even more overwhelming because we wake up every day and we're like, we don't know what we're doing. And it could be like that for a while.
Yeah, we just got to wait on insurance to do the things they need to do. They're waiting on fire marshal reports, waiting for the demolition of the building next to us to kind of see what is going to happen with our building structurally wise. So it's just a waiting game right now, and it's been difficult because we want to move forward, we want to get going, but then again, we really can't.
I know it was a huge tragedy for us, Browns and Lewises, but it was also a tragedy for the community because it's everyone's main street. And we've just been blown away by the support and love that we felt from everyone, from cards and cookies and calls, and we're still getting things. And so it's just made things more bearable because we know we're not alone.
Yeah, it really speaks volume for the small community that we live in. People that we don't even know, hardly know, have just rallied behind all of us with everything that's gone on. Firefighters, it's taken time out of their lives to do the job that they, wanted to do, and, put their lives on the line a little bit, and being away from their family, just dealing with all that for as long as they did. It's just a testament to how great of a community we live in.
I was one of the first firefighters on the scene. So we just seen a lot of smoke.
I got a text from a friend who heard it go out on the scanner. So she let me know. I went ahead and turned off our air conditioner because I knew I didn't want the smoke coming through if we didn't have to. And ended up leaving. Just watched it all. This ended up being Harvey's last fire with the fire department after 28 years of service. He retired after that. I've got the H&R block on one half of the building that we have there. And
I have classic glass, stained glass studio, and retail store.
The smoke puts electronics at risk, so H&R block required me to replace them. And Harvey lost about 24 large sheets of stained glass, and then just a little miscellaneous stuff. And of course, we had to have the building cleaned.
Yeah.
With all of the smoke, the Phoenix Restoration came in and cleaned all the walls, ceiling, floor, everything. I got back into my business after about 3 weeks. Harvey's still working on getting moved back in. We've always operated our businesses under the idea that they are God's and we are just the stewards. And this really brought that to light on whether or not we really believed that. Definitely was a wake-up call in our faith. And I'm glad to say that we were able to maintain that faith, and all of the people that helped from the church, our friends, the Lake Scott Car Club, they were also a big help in getting everything moved out. So this community has been fabulous at rallying around and supporting the businesses downtown.
The experience, it's humbled me as far as I have found out I have very little control in certain situations. One thing I have learned about this experience, though, is I thought through the devastation that it has done on Main Street, and to have a viable community, we need a thriving, good Main Street. And when I look at the 3 businesses that were affected, a little more than others, there's a little more than 3, but you look at the employees, you look at the trickle-down effect, that's a pretty big hit if those businesses aren't able to come back. And that's, as far as the experience, I've never looked at the Main Street as how important it is, because we've been a part of it for so long. I've just kind of taken it for granted at times. The experience that I would want to share is getting the people out that has came out to help us makes us understand that we are viable and we are important. Well, you have to be persistent and you have to keep going. And everyone that works for me, everyone that's involved in my business has stood back up and they've stood with me. And without their help, it would have been much more difficult to get through. The steps that we have taken, we've relocated. We've got a little sample displays to look at, and obviously not where we were at, but someday we'll get back. All the inventory that we have is gone, which they had a huge delay. When I say a huge delay, it's 2 weeks before we'll get anything back. And the scary time is those 2 weeks of, okay, now what are we going to do and how are we going to get it done? The employees of mine have been great, and the community, again, have been great, rallied behind us. God gave me strength to persevere, and the saying, or the Bible quote that I used through this whole thing is, God will give me His strength through His great power, so I will not give up in times of trouble. And if I give up, again, we just talked earlier about laying down, it's our choice to stand back up. And the thing that I've learned through this experience is we need people. And people, when they support, they make you feel like you're part of something. And I feel like I'm a part of this community. In life, when things knock you down, you have a choice of laying down or getting back up.